even what we've presented today, I mean, there are issues with it. We recognize we're not naive. There are issues ahead. But I think we all need to recognize that the NGOs are going to become key stakeholders, and we need to deal with how we address them and engage with them going forward. It's a good point.
Thank you, Brett. My name is Ramil, and we are into food production. You're probably wondering what we're doing here. So we want to provide healthy food to the miners and the communities. My question is basically, how is it possible that your company can help the communities you work with in terms of having them eat better food? Or because you have resources and capacities to educate and create pilot projects for organic or healthy food lifestyle. So my question is, are you doing something to help people use because you mentioned asset-based resources, which means existing houses, existing fields which are idle and people are idle, but actually what they need is basically knowledge to turn these resources available into, say, mushroom production below ground, above ground. But what they need is basically training and a little bit of leading from your company. Are you working towards this direction?
Absolutely. I guess that there are two things. One is promoting healthy eating. We do that through our HR side, and obviously mainly for employees and through our healthcare programs, which we roll out across all of the barangays. But I think what you're talking about more relates to livelihood programs and alternative livelihood programs, and that's the key to our planning to exit. We need to ensure that we provide opportunities to people on the ground to have alternative livelihoods and lifestyles. A good example is we've just seen and been involved with sending 3 students over to Japan to look at organic farming. And we'll sponsor that and look at that. I think the big key there is lack of land space. It's pretty very mountainous, so there's a lack. So as a team, we've got a livelihood specialist, and the focus really is to focus on alternative livelihoods and make sure that people have proper utilization of the limited resources that they have. So yes, we are looking at it. Thanks for me.
Any other question? I can read mine now. Okay. I labored over this question.
Can you read my handwriting?
No, we didn't plan this question, but it all comes from the experience that we've had with Ambassador Albert. We've been to Indaba, and so we've had conversations with miners from your side of the world. But could you tell us what are the similarities between South Africa and the Philippines in terms of doing business in the mining industry? And what are the differences? And is there anything we can learn from the South African way of doing things that we could apply to the Philippine setting to improve the way we do things in the mining industry?
I think broadly speaking, and in a broader context, I think there are a lot of similarities between South Africa and the Philippines, full stop. Both in terms of the social structures, the way things are done. I mean, it's not all the good things. There's some irritations that are kind of similar in both jurisdictions. But in terms of South Africa's closeness to the Philippines, yes, I think South Africa has been built on mining. It's been a major contributor. But it's also taught us a lesson, is that those resources are waning now. And it's taught the mining industry a very good lesson of how to leave behind something when you do exit. In terms of technical specifications, obviously the depth, the heat. Far southeast, I didn't really go into too much detail. It's pretty hot down there. It's close to the heart of volcanic activity, so it gets pretty hot pretty quick down there. So technically, our mines also at 4.5 kilometers get very hot, about 80 degrees centigrade. So there are definitely synergies there. In terms of the social complexities, very similar as well. Social issues are the same. And then also on the health and educational side, the potential lack of that and quality of that. So, yes, I do think there are similarities between the two. And I think if you look at the South African economy and the potential of the Philippines economy, as highlighted earlier, I think we can definitely learn from each other.
Thank you, Brett. Yes, Peter. One last question.
There has been quite a lot of controversy on the environmental side, but a critical issue is that the government is not getting enough revenues out of mining. This is the complaint. And the IMF had a team here for the last couple of days looking into this. Can you tell us, in South Africa, I'd be particularly interested, but Southeast particularly, what sort of revenues are you contributing to governments elsewhere, and in what kind of percentages compared to the amount that you keep for yourselves?
I can't give you exact details now. Let's just contextualize that. I think there's a global move in all countries to try and get more. I mean, we've seen it in all the jurisdictions that we're operating in. Australia had their go in 2009. We then have Peru. Ghana's having their go now. I think it's a global trend. We've just seen what's happened in Indonesia. So I think it will continue to be more and more of a trend. Before I get into the specifics of goldfields, I think the key to any engagement, and what we've seen in other jurisdictions, is active engagement with affected people. My biggest concern is the fact that you have these one-sided dictatorial statements that are made, particularly in places recently, such as Indonesia. Mongolia was such as well, with their windfall tax in about 2007, that don't really take into account the true interests of the people that they're affecting. So I think that's important. From a goldfield specific perspective, in Peru, the look-through rate is in the region of 42%. South Africa, you probably have something in the same region. Ghana, they're trying to increase it a bit more. That'll look to, when I say look-through, I mean that's your excise tax, your income tax, everything like that. To put it into perspective, in the Philippines, under the FTAA regime, it's 50%, 50. That's what it is already.
50 of what?
50 of your underlying profit.
Yeah, of your profits.
Yes, but I mean that's what I'm talking about in terms of your effective tax rate.
But that needs to be clearly explained to people, I think, and it's not fully understood at this point. We hear a lot of this, you're only paying 2% excise tax, the government is getting nothing, etc. But the inputs that I've had, the information I have, is that 50-50 is a fair sharing that mining companies are willing to accept, but it's a fair sharing of the net profit in whatever way you construct it. When I talked to the IMF, I tried to explain this. If you have an excise tax, if you have local taxes, if you build a school, that's part of your taxes, because the government should have done that. All those things should be thrown into that 50-50. But I've had a very hard time getting specific numbers from companies that I can actually quote into the public arena to defend that you are in fact paying quite a large amount of tax. And I think we need to do a better job of getting across the message of what we really are paying in taxes.
I would agree, and I think our friends through the Chamber are currently doing that survey, as are we, and we're going to be releasing those results shortly.
When I was envoy for mining, after I was Secretary of Foreign Affairs, I went around and saw how many women are really engaged in the industry. And I've been witnessing a lot of anti-mining women. So I said, where are the women? Where are they not answering what's going on in their respective industries? So we, with a number of other women lawyers, women geologists, women mining engineers, women HR workers, etc., decided to get together, have a lunch, and decided to come out of that lunch as the goddesses of the mountains. We call ourselves Diwatas. And we would like to put a human face to this debate. So we're gathering data insofar as how many women are really engaged in the industry, how many children are being affected by the industry. This may help in the debate because right now there is a study being made by one of the major countries that is involved in mining in the Philippines, and they're very, very eager to know what's going on with the gender issue in the mining industry. They came in with a statement saying that they are the worst affected, they are suffering from the industry, etc. So I think that this is one of the agenda that is going to be taken up by the Diwatas. We're going, anybody of the ladies and the gentlemen who may be prepared to sit down with us after this session, the brave gentlemen, we invite you to sit down with us at a table and we'll tell you about our plan to launch the Diwata movement with a fantastic show of Philippine gold jewelry. So I thought that that would be a soft diplomacy approach to this debate on what do we get out of the mining industry, etc. And our chief Diwata is no other than Agnes. She is the ambassador from South Africa. And I couldn't help it, Brett, but I always use the words of Nelson Mandela when we talk about mining. He said in one of the conferences I've attended that to alleviate poverty, you have to create wealth. And to create wealth, you have to use your natural and human resources. I thought that, in essence, is what mining is for South Africa, and I hope for the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much.